So let's start with the meeting. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meshery Build and Release call. This is a bi-weekly call where we discuss all the different DevOps and testing related stuffs of Meshery ecosystem. And today is October 12th, and we would be discussing a number of different items for today's agenda item. And before we move forward, first I'd like to ask everybody who is on the call to please add your names in the meeting minutes. And I've shared the link in the chat for that. And before we move forward, there's one more housekeeping item wherein we ask all of our newcomers to introduce themselves. And so I see few people who are new on this specific call. Vamshi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
So hi everyone, my name is Vamshi. So this is my first meeting in Meshery. I'm a contributor to layer5.io website. I fixed around 4 bugs, I guess, and this is my first meeting. So looking forward to it.
Would you like to tell more about like which tech stack you are comfortable with, backend, frontend, or testing?
So for now, I was working on front end part, and thinking of exploring our backend part. So I learned Golang a little bit. So I thought that it would be nice to go to the backend part of this Meshery.
Nice. And Ankush, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi everyone. I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
So I'm Ankush Bhardwaj. I'm currently working on front-end development, and I recently started contributing to Layer 5. And now I want to learn more about build and release. Like I'm new to like DevOps things. Recently I started learning about Docker, and I want to learn more in DevOps. But
Okay.
I not familiar with this DevOps things and all this, but I want to learn about this more.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
this is my first meeting.
Okay, that's cool. Like, we are glad that you joined this call. And who else? Idris, would you like to introduce yourself? Probably there are some technical challenges. Idris, you might want to introduce yourself in the chat until if there is any issues with the mic or speaker. So I think rest all are old comers, so we can move forward then. So also if you like, you can turn on your webcam because it's easier to connect with others if you turn on your camera. Otherwise, if you have technical challenges, otherwise that's fine. So before we move forward, we'll first discuss a very standing agenda item which we take care in all of our calls, that is Meshery build plan. So this is build and release call. This is basically a call where we go through different number of tests which Meshery runs, whether in the form of workflows or scripts. And this spreadsheet basically give you an overview of different tests that Meshery aims at supporting in its different E2E tests. And so basically, if I go to one of the rows, let's say installation of Meshery through meshery-ctl, and it's under Kubernetes platform. So if you have used Meshery and if you have installed it through meshery-ctl, then you might have used the command meshery-ctl install, and you can install them under different platforms, whether Docker or Kubernetes. So one of them is that. So this row is trying to cover the specific area of meshery-ctl. Then installing the test scenario is basically installing Meshery on Kubernetes platform. The action would be like doing a curl command and installing all the binaries. Then expected outcome should be installation should be performed successfully on the Kubernetes platform, and any guidelines which any contributor might need to take care of. And basically whether this test is being covered under E2E or not, that's covered by this specific column. And yes, so basically this is a quite exhaustive, not exhaustive, but it tries to take care of all the different scenarios which Meshery's different test plans should take care of under different workflows. And if you don't know what E2E is, E2E basically means end-to-end testing, where a complete feature of functionality is tested through workflow or different thing or script running inside of a workflow. So yes, so basically the ask of this spreadsheet is so that any contributor can take in any specific test and they can work on that, basically adding that specific test scenario in the workflow. And I'll actually show you one of the E2E tests that runs on one of the adapters. So if I go to Meshery adapter and I go to workflows, you'll see the E2E test. So what this specifically does is that it tries to install Meshery adapter and install Meshery on Kubernetes platform. Then it tries to use the Meshery adapter to install the Istio service mesh, because this adapter is for Istio service mesh. And then it tries to install a couple of its add-ons like Prometheus and Grafana through the specific design files. And then it tries to check whether the specific pods, whether they come up or not in the workflow scenario. So it asserts them through this specific workflow. Then if it doesn't come up, then the test scenario fails. If it comes up, then the test scenario passes. So this is like one of the way of testing this, all the functionality of this adapter, that is installation of service mesh, installation of its adapters, and connecting to Meshery through gRPC. So this is one of the ways where we are testing Meshery adapter. And the one thing to note is that if you have seen Meshery documentation, like all the results of these scenarios are actually posted on this. So these are posted on this supported platform. So Meshery as of today support different adapters for different service meshes. So if you like to manage any of service meshes through Meshery, then you can use any of the adapters. Let's say we're talking about Meshery Istio. So all the tests, whether they're passing or not for different Kubernetes version, these actually are stated in the workflow which I was just showing. So you'll find that we use a matrix for, if you go to this, okay, let me show. So actually that workflow calls another workflow which is inside of Meshery. So if I show you the specific V2 version of the adapter test, here we actually assert that we need to run on different Kubernetes version. So this is a matrix which actually defines different version of Kubernetes. And then based on for which version the test passes or fails, we show them on this matrix. So all this is actually automated through the workflow. Though there is some issues with this UI, but this is the way like it should work. And you can see the edge as well as stable release of the adapter. So if you are new and you don't know, so in Meshery there are two releases. One is edge, the other one is stable. So edge is a release which is sent out whenever you merge any of the PR, while stable release is release which is for a specific version, that is whenever you make the release from the release drafter. If you have seen that over here, whenever you make a release from here, then it's an actual release, otherwise it's an edge release. So yes, that's a difference between edge and stable, and all these workflow tests are published onto this website, and all these are end-to-end tests for the Istio adapter. So that was an overview of one of the tests that we have for adapters. We want to like ensure that we do other tests as well for testing different functionalities. And this is like basically an overview of this spreadsheet. So like I've covered this a number of times in the past calls, but it's like people take up the thing that they want to contribute, but like I do come to the same call again, and people like don't have any progress. So I wanted to ask who would like to help in this area specifically. You can take a very small test and ensure that we cover that in our workflow, which I just showed, like this one. So yes. So anybody would like to volunteer for like any specific test you'd like to work on? By the way, these are meshery tests. So for that, you'll have to check in this meshery repo, and there is a specific meshery E2E test. You'll find this, and here you can add those specific scenarios. So yes. Any takers on the call?
I can give it a look, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aryan. So which one would you like to work on? Anything you have thought about? Okay, you can
I'll
go
inform
through.
on you. I'll inform you over Slack.
No, actually, okay, you can definitely like ensure that we discuss on public channel. And one thing you can do is that once you are confirmed which specific test you would like to cover, if you can create a quick issue so that we don't like get passed over it or we don't forget about that. So you can create a quick issue on Meshery, and then we can track that specific thing. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so that was one of the tests, basically one of the part of the spreadsheet, and the other part is basically the different workflows that we have. So like Meshery, the different projects under Meshery is actually distributed among different repos under Meshery organization. So each repo have their own kind of test. So let's say and all kind of workflows, automated things. Let's say if we talk about Meshery and we talk in specifically that repo, there are all these different workflows. Like let's say this build and preview workflow. The work of this workflow is basically to whenever you make any changes to documentation, then for a website, the website that we were just seeing, this one. So whenever you create a PR after your changes, then this specific workflow will show your latest changes on the PR itself. It will actually comment the changes, and you can like even before it get merged, you can test out your changes. And let me like give you an overview of this build and release, because like many people might be having doubt of how Meshery is released. So let's go to again Meshery. We'll go to build and release table. So what this workflow basically does is that whenever Meshery release is made, then it actually updates the Meshery API documentation. So in case you don't know, Meshery as a tool support different kind of it actually have a REST API as well as GraphQL, and each set of that have different set of documentation. Each of them are made, developed and released on each release. So basically all the changes which are done to the documentation are actually made to this specific make target, and then this specific job of the workflow does that. Then we do the same for GraphQL documentation. Then after the changes are made, we commit them into the repo. This specific part of the workflow does that. Once we make the changes, we commit that to the repo. Then we build the latest image of Meshery, and once we develop the image, then we add the specific tags. We tag the image with stable latest and the image name and the GitHub ref and GitHub SHA and other things. Once we do that, then if you don't know, Meshery also have a playground installation. So in case you haven't seen that, so like in last KubeCon, Meshery unveiled its own cloud native playground where you can test out different cloud native CNCF projects and other DevOps related stuff in a visual way. So which is facilitated by one of the plugins of Meshery, which is Meshmap. And so in case you haven't like used it so far, so you can sign up on this form and you'll get access to the playground environment. So yeah, so even the playground environment image is also built through that workflow. So this is for building the stable image of Meshery, then okay, yeah. Okay, first we're building the playground image and we're pushing it to Docker Hub. Then we are building meshery-ctl. So Meshery as a tool have different set of clients, one of which is Meshery UI, other is meshery-ctl. Basically the CLI of Meshery, where you can do all the different things which you can do with UI, you can do the same type of stuff with CTL as well. So we build the latest binary of meshery-ctl. Then we basically we actually push them to Homebrew. So Homebrew has its own specific Meshery actually recently was added to the core formula of Homebrew, so we pushed that there. Then we also built this Docker extension work image of Meshery. So if you're using Docker and I can quickly give an overview of that as well. So if you haven't like seen in last DockerCon, Docker released their extensions, and Meshery was part of the release for release partner, wherein Meshery's Docker extension was also released. So this is another way of using Meshery, wherein if you're a Docker desktop user, you can directly install the latest version and start using Meshery in this Dockerized environment. So that was the other part. And then there is once all of the different jobs of the workflow successful, then we actually make an email to Meshery's developers mailing list. And then we also roll out the new version of Playground. I'll discuss more about this later in our current call, but like there are a lot of things to discuss about Playground. But and if any of the part of the workflow fails, then we actually send an email where which part of the workflow fails, so that we don't miss out any of the workflows which fails, so that if there is an issue, it can be resolved easily and before it gets so that it doesn't get missed out. So there is other part of this thing. So this was the entire build and release, stable release of workflow for Meshery. And yeah, so this was the other part of the spreadsheet where we give the overview of different workflows and on what scenario they run. So yes, so any questions on this? Anybody has any questions?
Just a comment. Thank you, Pranav. That was really in depth. I've learned quite a lot from that brief description. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next let's go to our topics, where our first item is from Philip. I think he recently did some improvements in meshery-ctl unit tests. So is Philip on the call? Okay, I think we are missing him. So okay, let's skip this item for now and let's come back to it if Philip joins. So Daniel, would you like to talk about your item? Like I'll take over these and my item afterwards. Would you like to go
Okay.
first?
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Let me share my screen. Okay, basically, yeah, let me just share. Okay, so I've been working on this end-to-end test for meshery-ctl. So the first thing was that it was failing at this point. As you're trying to deploy the service mesh, it wasn't finding the required service, and then it fails at that point. And then after solving this, I moved to the next phase. And in this section where we are applying the book info pattern, this is just a sample application that comes with Istio, that you can use it to quickly check if your Istio environment is running. So I had two PRs for this. The first was for this section, the deploying of the service mesh, and then the second one was for this section. So I looked further into this is the particular error that I was finding. And this error was indicative of Bash trying to run a file that does not exist. So I chased down the issue further into this particular workflow, which is here. And then I looked at this particular line, and this line from my experience so far, this looks like we're trying to install meshery-ctl for this line. But then this link is actually not even there. If you try and go to this link, it won't take you anywhere. It will give you a 4.4. Yes, yeah, a 4.4. So which sort of matched with the kind of error that we were seeing from the actual running of the job. So in this particular PR, I think there's one PR here. Yeah, I corrected this link. So that particular link to what we have right now. This is what we have in the documentation. So yeah, I think once I believe if this one is solved, then if there's any other underlying issue, I can follow up with the same for that particular end-to-end test for meshery-ctl.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
looks good.
Thank you.
I'll share again. Okay, so hopefully my screen is visible, and I can go over my item first, and then I can ask for more volunteers on this work. So actually there was a recent bug wherein our Meshery EC2 adapter tests were failing, especially the E2 E1s, which I just discussed. And the problem was somewhere here where it was actually giving 500. Okay, I think I've already gone through this. So if hopefully nobody have any doubts on this. So basically, okay, let me go over it because I wouldn't feel good. So basically what this workflow is about, first, what we're doing is we are trying to first of all install Meshery. We also try to start Kubernetes. Then we build the latest image based on the whatever changes are there in the latest master on this repo. Then we start Meshery through this Meshery config. We use one of the infinite tokens. So you can read more about it in the documentation. It's just that in workflows, we would likely want to use an infinite token rather than a token which would look expire. So basically, this infinite token is added as a GitHub secret. So yes, and then once we do that, so see, you can see Kubernetes is started, and then what we'll do is we'll start Meshery server through meshery-ctl. So you can see the same thing which Daniel discussed. So there was an error which Daniel fixed. So this is the command. We install meshery-ctl. So you can see installing meshery-ctl. Then once meshery-ctl is installed, then we start Meshery. And once Meshery is started, what we do is we start the adapter. So what we're doing is for starting the adapter, there is a very there is actually a design which does that. And basically once the adapter starts, we check for the logs. It's just for debugging purposes. It doesn't have any functional meaning. But the important thing is that we download a pattern file. So in case you don't know, basically pattern file a way of describing your infrastructure. Generally now it's called design file in Meshery's ecosystem. Earlier it was called pattern file. But basically the work of it is this. So it basically define the name of the design is Istio SM. You can give any name to your design, and then it have different number of services. So if you have used Docker, then you might have used Docker Compose. In that we define different services. It's very similar to that. One of which is Istio, and the type of the component is Istio mesh. The model is Istio. So if you don't know, Meshery uses mesh models for defining different things to which Meshery can integrate with or have a connection with. So basically Istio model is the model which basically has different number of components for things that Istio service mesh provides, which this adapter brings with it. And it's trying to install that in Istio system. I'll give a little more demo information of what this is. Okay, then basically we are trying to install the latest version of Istio Service Mesh, which you can check. I think it should be this 1.19.3, and the profile is demo. So now let me show you in visual way what that means. So I'm running a local instance of Meshery. If you have Playground, you can do the same thing as well. Like since I'm running, so I'll show you. So there are two ways of doing this. One is the design configurator. Where you can write your YAML. So I was just testing that design. So basically, like you can create a new design, and I was just so basically this design configurator is basically writing your YAML, and you can like choose different categories, different models with Meshery integrates with, and then you can just choose different components, and this will automatically build based on what you fill here. So this is one way of doing thing. The other way is the better visual way of doing is through this, where you can drag and drop different components. So let's say I was just discussing about Istio. So now how this component came in, because I'm running Meshery Istio adapter. So you can see, hopefully it's visible. See, I'm running Meshery Istio adapter, and I just ran this one of the make target. And here I'm running Meshery server locally. So when Meshery Istio adapter boot up, whenever it started, it actually registered all the components of Meshery Istio with Meshery server, and all these components then came from there. So this component is Istio SM, Istio Mesh, which is this one, and basically it's just uses the demo profile, and it has Istio system. So basically, if I just click on deploy now, Istio mesh would be deployed on my cluster. So this is basically installing Istio service mesh to this design. So basically the work of this is that. Now why it was failing was, now the real thing why it was failing was because these components were not registered. Basically, these components were missing from the latest version. So what I did was I added them, all the different specific version. It was missing from all these versions. I added all these missing components, and now the part of the issue is fixed. That is, like, these components are now available. So as you can see, now I'm on 18 and I can see Istio mesh. Before my PR, we weren't seeing all these things. So yes. So now it's the other problem is like, okay, so let me first complete this. So once it applies the pattern file, then it checks whether all the, then I was discussing about the assertions that we make on our that specific E2E test. So we check whether all the resources comes in or not. And that's about this whole workflow. Now the problem is, the other part is like the latest version of the adapter is not being registered. So as you can see, it registering all the versions till this 18, but it didn't register the 19 version. So that's the part of the second issue. So I'll look into that. Otherwise, like 50% of the issue is solved with this. So it's like that is the thing I was working on. And anybody has any questions about this? Any questions? Okay, no questions. That's fine.
Good
So
work, man. Good job.
yeah. Okay, thank you. So next is like I wanted to discuss about different call for volunteers. Basically, there are few things which can be improved, specifically the catalog website and our documentation and few good first issues. So let's go over them. So I'll share the link. basically like the problem is like first problem is we are not showing our awesome filters on this catalog. So what we are showing right now is all the different designs, but what we are not showing is we are just showing these hard-coded filters. So these are hard-coded. So first I'll give an overview. So basically this website we source all the different published items that we have on our catalog. So if you don't know, let me go to playground. Let me just show from here. So let's say you have a design, you created the design. Let's talk about this design. This is our design and we want to publish this to catalog. So how would you do um, so this is I'll change the name of this design, something. Make sure you build, release, so once you like your design name, you can click on this action item and you can click on publish. So basically this publish model will give you different things to fill, that is the technologies with which this design goes with, basically different integrations. So you can check the ones which you like and you can write the different caveats and you can write different descriptions. Once you do this, then you can submit your design for being reviewed by any of the maintainers. Once it gets approved, then it will be published here. And there's another catalog, but let's just focus on here right now. So you can not only publish these infrastructure design, but your filters as well, which is on this tab. So if you create a filter, import your filters, you can publish them. So the problem is we are not showing the published filter, we're just showing these hard-coded ones. And now how I know these are hard-coded, because if you go to meshery.io, so this is the site's repo. If you don't know, I'll share in the chat. And here, if you go to collections, you'll go to catalog. And here you'll find that somewhere here we have all the filters, but it's just that we are not showing them basically here, which I just showed. So anybody would like to explore this area? There's already an issue on this which describes this. So any volunteers for this? I'll check if there is. The catalog. See, there are a lot of issues and I don't know, people are still working. The important thing is the one which I just discussed. Anybody would like to work on that? Showing our published filters on the site. Yeah. Ankush, would you like to work on this?
Hello. Hi.
Yes.
So I really don't understand this much because currently I'm a front end now, and this is my first meeting about build and release.
Okay. Would you like to explore this thing, like why we are not showing our filters?
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Okay. So would you like to create an issue on this meshery.io website? Because I realize there isn't an issue right now that focuses on this. You can get a quick issue which describes that the published catalog items for awesome filters are not being shown on this page. And then you can explore that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. But
Okay, thank you. The next item which I wanted to discuss is the enhancement to publishing our docs. So let me show. So basically the problem is like there is a percentage issue. Like if I just talk about this, so it shows that 0% of the adapter was compatible with this Kubernetes version. But if you see, like a lot of different tests were successful. So we need to ensure that we show the right version. Also, if you see, I clicked on v1.25, but when I come here, like it's not shown anywhere here and it's quite confusing. So would anybody would like to take the initiative of improving this area? Specifically showing, first thing is that you can show the right percentage, because the 0% is not completely correct, because you can see few testers were passing few days ago. And we are not also showing the percentage. So, and we are not showing the name of the service. So these are very good first issues where you can go to the workflow, which publishes the documentation, and you can find like why the variable name was not picked up by while publishing. So any takers on this thing?
Yeah, I can work on this.
Okay. Can you please first help in like creating an issue on this? Like you can create this issue on Meshery as well, where you can describe
Okay.
that this is missing, and then you can look at, I can also explain which workflow you have to look into. I'll just give you a pointer. So you will find that in the build and release. You'll find that here because we are publishing it from here. So I'll actually give you the link to directly the workflow which you have to use. But if you can just quickly create an issue on that and just tag me there, I'll send you the pointer for that. Okay, so we covered our two items, and then final item is like a good first issue where you can create a quick workflow which notifies which is basically Slack notification workflow that notifies any newcomers about a new issue that is created with a specific label. And the second thing is it also notifies when someone starts a specific repo. So I think there's an example issue on this. So there's already a YAML which you can use. You have to just like use the same YAML in the repo where it's currently not being used. So you can go to any of the layer 5 or Meshery organization, a specific repo. If they don't have this updated YAML, then you can use that. So there's already this thing which you can use. You have to just reuse the same thing in the missing places. So any takers on this thing? I'll also write the name so that we don't forget. So I think Akshay, Aryan, would you like to give your name here on the, so that we don't forget? Ankush, would you like to write your name here on the meeting minutes? And so I was just discussing about that workflow. So anybody would like to take this thing, adding this specific workflow? Vamshi, would you like to work on this? Or are you looking to work on something else?
Yeah, I will look into this. I was thinking how to approach this.
It's like you have to like reuse the same workflow. Basically, just use this workflow in the repo which does not have this. What I mean is, like, this is a workflow. If it is missing in any of the repositories, then you can just add the same workflow in that place. That's all this issue is. Does that resonate with you, or it doesn't make sense, like what I just said?
Yeah, now I got it. So
Yeah.
I think I will work on it.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So Vamshi would like to work on this. Would you like to create a quick issue on the repo where this is an issue, basically an issue which describes this missing workflow, and then you can just add the, like, once you create an issue, someone can assign you that, and then you can start working on it. So that would be helpful. Okay. So we covered all our items today. And anybody would like to discuss anything else? We still have 15 minutes. Anything we can discuss about playground. I can give a quick overview of playground because since we are having some time.
Side issue. How do you paste so fast in the chat?
Oh, what pass as in copy paste?
You do. Usually you're talking and then you've already pasted in the chat immediately.
Oh,
Usually very fast.
yeah, actually, I just use Control C, Control V.
It usually feels like there's someone else there just waiting for your cue and then pasting the link, pasting the link.
No, I am the only one. It's like I'm like trying to use two screens, so I think that is the reason it's really fast.
Makes sense now.
Okay, so let's by the time it's okay, so I'll show you what playground is and how it's deployed. So since we have time, so if you go to install directory, it basically how different ways of installing Meshery. So if you like your deployment YAMLs, you want to install Meshery to Docker extension, so you have to go to this directory. If you want to install Docker through Docker, then you will go to this directory. If you want to use Kubernetes through Helm, then you will go to this. We'll go to Playground because we are discussing about Playground. And Playground can also be deployed in two different ways, Kubernetes and Docker. Currently, the one which we have is in Dockerized environment. So let's go to this and I'll just show you how it's laid out right now. I think there was one challenge which someone was working about adding Prometheus and telemetry, but I don't know if that was covered. I thought Lee added the Prometheus, but I don't know if it's still there. So we can see if someone wants to work on that. So first, let's discuss about this playground deployment. So basically, this deployment is like there are two different VMs. One is Meshery O1, the other one Meshery O2. In Meshery O1, we are running Docker and Docker engine and Kubernetes. Oh, sorry, Docker engine and Meshery. Meshery is running as a Docker Compose app. We have Nginx as well. So to have basically to basically a web server so that all the requests can be passed in the right format and there are no extra requests and basically working as a reverse proxy. Then we have Meshery adapters as well. You can install and deploy adapters through Meshery UI. And then we have Meshery server. This so the other VM is for Kubernetes, and this VM is not exposed to internet, while this VM is. That is why we can just go to playground and see the playground. And internally, this VM talks to this VM through these open ports. And this one is the Kubernetes, and basically Meshery talks to this Kubernetes over these open IP address. So we don't want to expose a Kubernetes so that nobody does any bad things with our Kubernetes cluster, start mining stuff. So that is just one thing. So that was this overview, and we can see mesh map. Basically visual way of doing things. There are two different modes to visual mesh map. That one is designer, other one is visualizer. In designer, you can configure your infrastructure, basically design how your infrastructure should look like. And visualizer is the real world view, read-only way of seeing your infrastructure. So basically, you can see how our cluster is doing and how our pods are doing, how's their health. And basically, the operator stuff is done in visualizer. Okay, so while that comes in, I think I was connected to some other cluster. So Now it should come. So see, this is the Kubernetes cluster to which our playground is connected to. And these are different resources which are there. We can filter on different namespaces, and we can also filter on different resources which are discovered in the cluster, let's say pod. And how these are being discovered is through meshing, which Daniel recently worked on, improving the performance. So basically meshing is like a machine which can actually detect different stuff which are being used in your cluster, in your environment. As soon as it actually subscribes to all the changes that are happening in your cluster, then it sends those changes through broker to Meshery server, which though it's not in the cluster, but it's talking to the Kubernetes API, so it can talk to this NATS as well. And this is Meshery operator, which manages the lifecycle of this Meshery broker and mesh sync. So this is like more info about our pod. The same is for broker. You can see the IP address as well, same for operator. And so I was talking about this telemetry. As we can see, it's not configured. Anybody would like to work on adding telemetry in the playground? It's actually super simple. You can just create a design with your Prometheus Grafana. You can go here and just use any of these, and once you are sure with your design, even if you're not sure, you can still deploy. It's not any problem because this environment is like reset every day, so that's fine. You can just click on deploy and deploy your Prometheus, and once you do that, your Prometheus will actually be available here to configure in the settings, and then we can get metrics from each of the pods and node. So that's like, if someone would like to take over this is also quite outstanding item. I think someone was working, but probably they didn't deliver. So yes, this another item. I think, yeah. Any questions on this playground? Anybody has? Now is the chance. Ask your questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
I recently worked on an issue related to updating screenshots, and there are many issues that are open and others that have been taken up. And I find that a few people have had submitted PRs that they're under the impression that they have rightfully taken the correct screenshots, but then based on the feedback that I got, because I believe I was one of the first people to complete these issues, there are icons missing on the canvas, and they wouldn't know, how it would look. So most of the icons that are missing would be the ones in the center, so the green area and the inner blue area, but the outer blue area always has icons missing if you don't wait long enough. So I'm wondering if the whole entire canvas in the center of the screen, the ones you're pointing at and the ones on the outer side and the one in the green areas all have to have icons, or only the ones in the inner green area and the ones in the inner blue area?
Okay. So if I understand your question correctly, you're asking why we don't have icons here, but we have icons here, right?
No. Is it that the icons are expected to appear in the inner blue area, and the green area, as well as the outside area? So the entire canvas has to have icons, or the bottom two icons, for me, they never show up no matter how long I wait.
Okay, these
But
icons
if I
you're
wait
talking
long, no, the ones that in the center of the screen.
these.
So those ones, yes, those ones,
Okay.
and the blue ones in the small blue square and the big blue square.
This, and would you like to share your screen? Like, I cannot understand. These are
I'm on the phone.
okay. So okay, understood.
My apologies, I'm on the phone.
No worries. So if you are asking about these icons and you are asking why we don't have icons here, right? This clock.
No, I'm asking if they should appear, if
Okay,
we should expect icons to appear.
Okay, so you're asking whether we should expect the icons to appear for these boxes, right? These,
Yes, yes,
okay,
yes.
okay. Good question. Actually, it's how the system is, because this is a namespace, and these two things are containers inside of a pod. That is why they have icon, while this namespace doesn't. So let's say if I
Okay,
click on Kubernetes system, then by the way, you have a very good question, because many people might have this. So now I've filtered on Kubernetes system namespace. So now I will see more resources which are in Kubernetes system namespace and Meshery namespace. So these two, we are seeing these two. And I've filtered on kind, which is namespace, and pod. So I will only see namespaces and pod for these two namespaces on the entire canvas. So, and for
okay,
each, yeah. So for this, if you see this block, this is a pod, and it has these containers. 1, 2, 3, these are containers. So these containers have an icon, while this pod doesn't have any icon. Similarly, this namespace, which you see at the very highest, the parent of all these things, it doesn't have an icon. It just have a background image, but it doesn't have an icon like this. So only the containers have icons. So that is, so
okay.
they,
So
you
the
shouldn't
bottom three
expect,
icons,
yes. Mhm.
so the bottom three icons, it's fine that they look like that. They don't need to have an image in the center of them.
Yeah, yeah, yes, they should.
Okay, because I've been telling contributors to change their screenshots because icons
Okay,
are not appearing because I was told the same. So
okay.
it's very hard to know when a screenshot is the correct one if you don't know the namespaces or
Mhm.
the terms
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
selected. So
yeah.
I'm not sure how we can tackle this because there are a few open issues that people are wondering and new contributors are reviewing. And for me, speaking for myself, I'm not sure if whether to approve a screenshot based on the feedback I got or how to move forward with that.
One thing you can ask them to do is select all. So once they select all, then they will see everything on the canvas. So there shouldn't be any issue of seeing empty things. But even if they're seeing empty, then it's fine, because they have not selected a specific selector. You can just ask them to select the right things, and then they will see the things which they should be seeing on the canvas. So if they're seeing empty, that means it's fine. Basically, that's what I want to say. So if it's empty, it's
But
fine,
if the
because
whole canvas is empty, then that's not fine.
yeah, if whole canvas is empty, then it's not fine. But there is a there
Okay,
is
fine.
the
Okay, then I'll go with that. As
yeah,
long as there are a few icons and not everything is empty. Okay, I'll work with that for now. Thank you.
yeah. Okay, okay, welcome. So I think that's all for today. We covered everything, and we also discussed about different thing about playground. So I'll actually follow up with these Aryan and Vamshi, and the other Ankush, if he would like to work on this, and I'll give them pointers to where to look for these things. And I think that's all for today. Anybody has anything else to discuss? So,
There are few of my PRs about changing version from 1.19 to 1. They are still unmerged. So
okay,
I have recently tagged you. So again I will tag you. So give it a look.
sure. Yeah, I'll look into that. I missed that. Thank you for reminding. I'll look into that.
Hello, Aryan, Pranav.
Yes, hello.
So as I mentioned earlier that I was like working on front end stuff. So this is my first call about DevOps things, and I really like don't understand much in today's meeting. Like this is my first exposure to DevOps. So can you tell me some prerequisites to like learn some stuff so that I can get started on that, because I really don't understand the issues here. Like
Okay, one thing you can do is first ensure that you are able to run Meshery in your local system. For that, you can go to documentation, and like there are different ways from which you can start installing Meshery. You can go through this quick start guide, and that will help you to install Meshery. Once you install Meshery, then you can have access to Playground as well, because This playground will help you to understand how different projects work, because you already have a cluster, so you don't have to run cluster in your local system. You can understand how different technologies work. You can explore about them. Specifically, you just, I think, want to learn about Kubernetes. So there is this Kubernetes model from which you can learn, and there are different ways of learning directly from Playground. So if you haven't like signed up for Playground, I will suggest you to start from here. And if you have any questions, then you can post on discussion forum. Like every community member is happy to answer a question, like Sandra and others. So I'll just post the link here as well. So here you can just ask any doubts that you have while you learn, and everybody would be happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that.
Okay. So I think that's all. So thank you all for joining. It was quite nice. You all bear with me so far. So thank you. See you on the next call then. Bye.
Thanks, Pranav.
Yeah.